Ingrid, could you tell us something about overweight, a big problem worldwide?
Yes, it's almost like an epidemic. If you look at the statistics, it's almost like an explosion in the last 30 years. An incredible amount of people have started to struggle with overweight and even with becoming obese. If you look at the figures, it's rather shocking, because I think right now in the United States, more than 2 out of every 3 adults are overweight or obese. And 1 in every 3 adults in the United States nowadays are obese. For children, the figures are also not very good, because in the United States, 1 out of every 3 children actually is suffering from overweight, and 1 out of every 6 children is obese. And of course, the problem is the biggest in the United States, as we all know, but it's becoming bigger and bigger in Europe as well, and it's also spreading to the rest of the world. So it's a very big problem. It has enormous effects on many levels. I'll talk about that soon. But the first thing that I would like to talk about is the so-called index, the BMI, Body Mass Index, which is used to calculate whether you're normal weight, overweight, obese, or extremely obese. And personally, I think this is not really a very practical measure, because it's quite complicated. You have to, use your age and your weight and your sex and your length, and it's very complicated. So a lot of people, I think, don't really know what their BMI as it's called, is. So I would like to propose a much more practical, very easy to calculate measure for everybody to immediately know whether they are in a danger or problem zone. For women, you can, on an average of course, take your height and then in centimeters. So for Americans, they have to convert to centimeters. I don't know what it would be in inches. So in centimeters, and then deduct 10. So for example, I am 1.80 meters, so I will deduct 10, which makes 1.70 meters, and then take the 70 as an indication of a normal weight. It could be a little bit less, but let's not be too strict. For men, it's plus 10, so compared to women. So it would be a man who is measuring 1.80 meters, he could weigh 80 kilos and would have a normal weight. A little bit less is fine, but stay with this. Then if you, for women, go to plus 10, you would be overweight. Plus 20, compared to your height, plus 20 you would enter the obese zone, and plus 50 you would enter the extreme obese zone. So for men it would be the length you have is the normal weight, plus 20 would be overweight, plus 30 would be obese, and plus 60 extreme obese. So I think if you can make you would have, as Americans, you would have to translate, of course, to centimeters and to kilos. But then you would have an easy measure. And to summarize all of it, the idea would be to have your length minus 10 for women, or your length for men, and that would be a good normal weight. So if you figure with that, it's very easy to see how much overweight you have, or whether you're entering the obese or even the extreme obese zone, with all the risks of that. Now, the first thing I'd like to say to people that are struggling with overweight and even being obese, realize it's a big problem. You're not the only one. There are many, many people, as the statistics show, that are suffering from this. So you're not alone, and it's very important, I think, also to realize that it's not your fault, because a lot of people that suffer from serious overweight will feel very guilty, feel very incompetent, and the classical cycle, of course, is the cycle of addiction, because eating a lot is an addiction, just like any other addiction, be it to smoking or to drinking or to sex or to gambling or to doing sports. Any other addiction, anything that you can't do without is an addiction. And that's the same thing with eating. So you'll see the same pattern. How does it work? You think, oh my God, I'm too fat. I want to lose weight. So in the morning you'll start full of, good hope and motivation. And then all of a sudden at 11 o'clock you notice that you've already had, a chocolate bar or a big chunk of cheese, and it will just destroy all the motivation, and the rest of the day is gone, so all the brakes are off, and you'll start eating anything that's there. I mean, this is something that my clients who struggle with being obese will tell me. They will have this hope sometimes, and to find that it just crumbles very quickly. And it just makes them feel very powerful. So you go into this, what I call false hope, the hope that you can actually stop your craving, that you can control your craving. You can hold on for a little while, and then you can't, because it's like something takes you over. And the hope crashes, and you enter into what I call primary defense, which is a state in which you just feel very guilty, very inadequate, very powerless, and you just give up all hope, and then you just indulge in, whatever your addiction is. In this case, we're talking about food. So it's good to realize that the way out is not willpower. The way out is not by thinking, okay, I have to go on a diet. It just doesn't work. And we know this binge effect, that people go on a diet and they'll lose some weight and then they will get it all back, or usually even worse. They will gain even more. And I think this is all due to the fact that the frustration of getting the weight back is so big that the powerlessness and the feeling of I'll never get out of this, so who the hell cares, is enormous. So then you'll just, start eating everything, and of course gain back all the weight you lost and gain even more. So it's a horrible cycle. The social consequences are big, because people that are struggling with being obese or have serious overweight, they will tend to start hiding themselves, or they will feel awkward in public, so start inhibiting them. And in order to be able to still cope with this and not start feeling too horrible and really start hiding yourself, which some people do, which is horrible, other people have the strategy of denial. I've had clients telling me, I would look at myself in the mirror and I think, well, it's not so bad. I look okay, okay, a little bit overweight. Until they see themselves on, for example, a picture with a whole group, because then they think, my God, is that me? Then they will see the overweight. So there's denial, actually, thinking that you look better than you actually do. So I would say go back to the measure that I gave in the beginning of this little video, and determine whether you have a problem to be dealt with. And then know there is a solution, and there is a solution which lasts in the long run, because all the diets, as I just said, they last for a little bit and then it just has the opposite effect. But there is another solution which works in the long run, and the solution has to do with understanding, finding out what is behind the addiction, because as I said, eating is an addiction. So it's a serious problem, and it's something that takes you over. It's not willpower, it is an addiction that you are in the grip of this addiction. You're being taken hostage, like any addiction. And the only way out is to see what the addiction actually is keeping away. Because all addictions have dysfunction. There is something underneath the addiction. And the longer you have the addiction, the more you become, of course, immersed in it, and the more it takes you over, and the more it seems as if the addiction is the problem. And of course, you're suffering from the addiction. But if you start doing the work, you will find out that there is actually something underneath the addiction. And the addiction is taking your attention away from seeing what's underneath it. And underneath it is old childhood pain, things that happened to you when you were a child that you might have no idea of, or maybe you do have some idea of what happened. It doesn't even have to be that, objectively speaking, horrible. It can be little things, but still for a child they were too heavy, too impactful to process properly. And so they are stored in the unconscious, they are stored in the amygdala, as part of the brain, and they will keep signaling all the time that something's wrong, there's some danger, imminent danger. And in order not to feel this, we have all different kinds of systems to cope with it. And one of the systems is becoming addicted to something and being, having a problem with food, eating too much, like any other addiction, serves as a lid on this reservoir. You could say the septic tank that we all carry inside of us, and that is filled with old childhood experiences that now are not threatening anymore. We can actually go in to this reservoir, we can clean it, and once we do that and we see, hey, I'm an adult, I survived. It was maybe painful what I lived through as a child, or I had painful experiences like every child, but it's over, it's okay, I can integrate it now. And then we can come back to the present, and we don't need all these dysfunctional behaviors anymore, of which eating is one of the most prevalent. If you imagine, like I said in the beginning of this little video, more than 2 out of 3 adults, more than 2 out of 3 adults are suffering from overweight or being obese. I mean, it just concerns all of us. So that's a good thing to realize, that there is something underneath that you can do something about, and it works also in the long run. And it's not your fault if you're suffering from being obese or overweight. But find some help, someone that can help you to see what's actually going on behind all of this.